Hey, welcome back everybody to the TFL podcast for season 2022. Yes. You're here with Rowan and Arch. Mate, yes. I hope no one goes back and listens to the last episode because they wouldn't think this one exists.
I think I poured my heart out about all the things you meant to me, Rowan, and probably said some things I shouldn't have as well. But we won't worry about that because this is a new year and we are pumped. We're back, baby!
Oh, man, it's so good to be back. I'm actually...
back!
It's been good to have the break, I'll be honest, and to come back and be like, we are right on football time. It's going to be so good. Yeah, guys, you can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and give us a like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yes.
And
wherever it is.
Get along. It's going to be a good ride this season. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a great off-season. There's been some phenomenal team changes when it comes to the NFL, and we're just glad to be back. Azzo, love it. Thanks, mate.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Poida.
That's it. If you're watching on YouTube, then there's going to be comments that are popping up, so feel free to comment on the show as we go, and we might even get to your questions. So
the issue
if you're listening
Rowan,
on Spotify, then jump in on that.
Arch,
how are you, mate?
I look good. I was just saying with the comments, we just need a... unfortunately, my students caught wind of this occasion, and we've got a couple in the chat who just need to rack off and realise I don't care about them outside the hours of 8 till 3. So on you go, guys.
That's hilarious. That's fantastic. Yes, Brad Bolt, big friend of the show. Yeah, shorter retirement than Brady. I mean, close. Close.
Yeah. And look,
for some reason, I think like our wives are a little bit more okay with our decision than Brady's wife at the moment.
And they don't look like a man like his.
That's it.
Go on. What were you saying?
Mate, I don't know. It's just really good to be here. And I think as we step into NFL DFS this year, it's great to be able to say that we are partnering with Draftstars and the provider of DFS here in Australia. And
the one and only.
That's right. It's great. If you would like to sign up to Draftstars, then you can hit the little link, bit.ly/join Draftstars. So hit that up for us. That'd be fantastic. And also, straight off the bat, we have a DFS contest for the TFL podcast listeners. It's bit.ly/TFL week 1. Hit us up. Come and play DFS against us. It's going to be wicked fun. I'm really looking forward to this week. I'm excited. How about you, Chris?
Oh, I'm pretty happy with Draftstars really come to the party, giving us our own contest, 30-man, $5 entry, top 9 cash in. It's a real nice, soft, single-entry tournament for people just to really get their hands dirty in all that is DFS.
That's it. So come and play. Come and play, everyone. It's going to be good fun.
There you go. Website on the screen now for those on YouTube.
There you go. Well, to start off then, we want to talk a little bit about strategy because the way we're going to approach DFS this year, it's important to think about what are some of the key factors in terms of building our lineups as we go. So there's a fantastic website out there, DFS Australia, that you need to check out because Mortz and the team at DFS Australia just put on some phenomenal resources for us to access, to look back at the historical tournaments and all that kind of stuff. So check him out, check out his stuff. And one of the things that you can do is sign up for the NFL Research Premium Pack and support the site by doing so. So please do so. We've jumped in on that, haven't we, Arch? And we've had a bit of a look around, and it's some pretty good stuff.
Oh, mate, I cannot get enough of it. Just to be able to go back tournament by tournament, see what the pros are doing, and just learning from them. And we're going to talk a lot about this, especially the stacking part of things. So, can't wait. And there's more stuff coming on the DFS Australia, so look out for that.
That's it. It's exciting. So I wanted to run through a few things that I've found upon reflection, upon looking at some of the winning teams from last season. So I've looked at all the winning teams from the main contest each week that runs on the Monday, and had a look at what have teams been doing, particularly around stacking. When we talk about stacking, it means that we're talking about a quarterback being paired with their pass catches.
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at last year. Now, there were 18 rounds. Okay, so 18 combinations of stacks that I've been able to look at, and out of the 18, only 2 of them had no stack attached, and one of them was only one of them was a Gardner Minshew fill-in for Jalen Hurts basement price week. So of course he was chalk. Put that guy in. The other one, I can't actually remember exactly what the other one was, but either way, only 2 out of 18 had no stacks.
Yep.
There were 8 that had a single stack. There were 7 that had a double stack. Sorry, 8 and another 8 that had a double stack. What that also meant, one of the funniest things I found
What's a double stack, Rowan?
A double stack is where you have a quarterback and 2 pass catches.
Yeah, thank you.
They go together. So really important to stack. That's the biggest takeaway here is that we want to be connecting our quarterback to pass catches, because when a pass catcher does well, the quarterback does well.
Yes.
We want to get as many... I guess of the, what am I saying? Any of the volatility out of the way. We want to try and be able to go, okay, I want to minimize the amount of things that I need to get right. And if I can get one game right, that means that's probably going to take up 3 or 4 of the spots in my lineup, and that's taken care of, and I only have a minimal amount of choices for the rest of my lineup. So that's just, it's smart lineup building. Now, with the stacks, we also talk about this thing called a bring back. And a bring back is where you play an opposition player from that game. So say we've got coming up, you've got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. If you're going to stack Joe Burrow, say you play Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that's a double stack. Ooh, and then you want to bring back someone on the other side. So maybe you're playing a Deontay Johnson or a Najee Harris, someone because you think that there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. So out of all of the stacks, so out of the 18 weeks, what we actually saw is that 13 of those weeks there was a bring back.
That's amazing.
So the stats tell us that we clearly want to bring it back. Now, who we bring it back with, it could be a wide receiver, it could be a tight end, it could be a running back. It was kind of split in terms of how that worked. There were 4 running backs that were the bring back last year in the winning teams. Most of those were pass catching running backs. So you knew that there was going to be some sort of PPR bonus that was coming with that. There were 4 wide receiver 1s, there were 2 wide receiver 2s, and there were 3 of the key tight ends. And that was like Kelsey, Pitts, and Kittle. So, these guys who are top 2 targets on their team as well. So you're really looking for who are the guys on the other side that are going to get peppered a lot, especially if they're forced to catch up. Then you're looking for those extra targets in there. So in summary, if you're gonna win, you got to stack. You got to bring it back, and the way to bring it back is to add a pass catcher from the other team on the other side.
Yeah.
So
and more often than not, one of their top ones, because I guess the reason why you want the top one is, well, you're not stacking that team, so you might as well, the most likely person on the team that you hope doesn't do as well is their top pass catcher. So, it all makes sense. And especially, I think, in the Draftstars contests, which are, I guess, really quite low field, like small field tournaments, aren't they? I mean,
compared to the US, definitely.
The US, where the milli maker's outrageous. There you could, quite often the winners aren't fully stacked because the full
just
ceiling,
hit the nuts.
Yeah, you just hit it. But for the mini real, that's a nice small field, 15 max entry. You don't like the stacking is. Probably the double stack is really where you want to hit there, and then the micro and the main are, still, only a couple thousand, still quite small.
That's it. A couple other things as well. When we talk about stacking, obviously you care about a game environment, and you want the game environment to be scoring lots of points. And so not only do you want to do that with a game stack with your quarterback, but you can also do that with a mini stack where you play a pass catcher and a running back, or a couple of pass catchers from the same game from opposite teams as well in the same spot. So that's also something that we saw. I saw that there were nine times where there was that kind of correlation. So 5 times there was a running back with a pass catcher, and that's often because the running back plays for the team in front and the pass catcher plays for the team that's chasing. But then sometimes we saw 4 times that there was 2 pass catchers from the same team, same game environment as well. So again, you're just minimizing the amount of things that you need to get right in terms of those game scripts to be able to kind of push away at the leaderboard. So that's really, really important as well. The last thing I saw is that in terms of the defenses, and we don't always talk about defenses because it's sometimes just that secondary thing that comes with that. But 8 times we saw a defense that was from a sub 45 over-under game. 8 times we saw a defense from a 6-point favorite. And 15 times out of 18, we saw that the defense was played from a game that had no other players in that lineup. I think that was really important for me, is that the defense I'm going to play, I really don't want to have anyone else in my lineup that's from that game. So
it's interesting. There's a very popular stacking method of having the running back with its defense. So I guess from what we saw last year, that's not actually quite optimal lineup building.
It didn't seem to. It actually only happened once in a winning lineup last year. So I'm very happy to just play a defense and just then avoid that game for the rest. I think that's probably just the way that I'm going to throw this back this year. Anyway, that's some of the key things that we've learned. So stack, DSTs by themselves, and bring it back. So 3 key points that we're going to be tracking throughout the rest of this year.
Yep. And I think that goes into the way we want to, I guess, format this show. We're not going to go position by position, are we?
No, we're not. As we head into it, we're going to run through 5 of the key games that we think that we should be targeting. So obviously that's 10 teams then. So there's still tons of players that we're going to look at here. But yeah, we're going to look at 5 games. And then quickly after that, we'll look at if there's any other key players that we like in each position as well. So without further ado, Arch, let's head into these matchups.
You want to hear some matchups?
I want to hear some matchups.
You know what that means?
I do. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah! Well, it's not that loud!
We got there.
Look, if I could have a do-over, Rowan, I would. What I'd had done is the classic leave the fader down from the intro. But here we are.
That's okay. It's all right. Here we are.
It's a pre-season, right?
It is the pre-season. The only time that we get to say that, by the way. There are 5 games that we're looking into here. And the first one we want to look at is the Raiders and the Chargers.
Yes.
Arch, can you pull up the odds, the over-unders and stuff like that for us while we go through this? That would be great. The Raiders and Chargers are the one that we're going to start off with. Sweet. So we got an over-under of 52, I believe. Is that the second highest on the slate, I believe?
Yeah.
Chargers are 3-point favorites here. And really, I just want all the pieces in this game. I love the Chargers offense. The Vegas Raiders have just added Devontae Adams into their repertoire. This is going to be a big game, and there's a lot to be had. So I want all the pieces. Yes. So we're going to pull up the Draftstars, not the lobby. We're going to jump into the main here. So let me just pull that up on YouTube if you are watching with us.
Yeah. Audio podcast as well.
That's right. So if you're listening to us on audio, thank you for listening. And you might want to jump over to YouTube every now and then to see what we're talking about. Anyway, so what we're going to look at here, I'm going to pull up the Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers here. And really, when I say all the pieces, I mean all the pieces. Austin Eckler is a premium PPR running back that you cannot go wrong here. Justin Herbert is the highest priced quarterback on the slate. All right, so we have to be aware of that, okay? If you're going to play Justin Herbert, you're paying top dollar for him, which isn't a bad thing necessarily with what we know Justin Herbert can do. So when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at stacks. And let's talk about the Chargers first. I think the Chargers have got just a phenomenal team. You've got 2 great pass catchers in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. And Gerald Everett is sitting there as a tight end. And the great thing about Gerald Everett is that he's super cheap at $6,500. Last year, we saw Jared Cook, super old man Jared Cook, averaging about 5 targets a game. And so if Gerald Everett's going to be the one to come into that position and take those 5 targets a game, then I think Gerald Everett, as a younger body, will be able to do just as much as Jared Cook. And we've seen Everett get in the end zone a bit as well in the past. So Gerald Everett is a pretty decent play, so I'm pretty happy with that. Running backs, Austin Eckler. Now, Austin Eckler, as a pass catcher, he's a guy that can rack up 10 targets a game.
Yes.
And so if you're thinking about how do I stack with Justin Herbert, well, this kind of rare occasion where Austin Eckler is actually just as viable as a stacking option with Justin Herbert as much as a couple of the other guys as well. So Austin Eckler is definitely there in terms of it needs to be there in terms of your thoughts when stacking. So I like that a lot. But of course, the big two on the Chargers team are Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Oh yeah,
these guys just we know Mike Williams. He's a big body receiver who can burst down the field.
Yeah.
Really like what he can bring to this team. So Mike Williams, honestly, at 12,340 is a great value. I really love him. He's not quite our value of the week. We'll get to him in a second. But Mike Williams, I think, will be chalky, though, because of this. He's having. If you follow redraft NFL fantasy leagues in the preseason, then Mike Williams is a bit of a darling. Like, he's really been the guy that a lot of people have been wanting to draft in that kind of third, fourth round. And so a lot of hype around him to take that leap, to potentially be the one instead of Keenan Allen. So Mike Williams I really like, but I think he might actually be chalk. And potentially this is a great week to then pivot, which sounds strange, but pivot to the number one in Keenan Allen. He's a little bit more expensive at 13,920, but in terms of what this offense brings and the game script that we think is going to play out with the 52 over-under, then Keenan Allen is just as viable as Mike Williams and potentially could be less owned by the field. So I'm pretty keen on Keenan Allen there as well.
And I get what you're saying, but then I wonder is it more that it's the fantasy industry is more the Mike Williams show, and the casual punters are, I know Keenan Allen is reliable, Mike Williams gets hurt, and I'm not necessarily convinced that Mike Williams will garner such high ownership, but it's a high total game, so I think the both of them will, but look, I'm going to have a lot of Mike Williams. I'm going to tell you that much.
No, fair enough. If he's chalk, you're probably going to eat the chalk with Mike Williams. The other guy to talk about just briefly is Josh Palmer. He's the wide receiver 3, and I think you can't have either. You couldn't have both Everett and Palmer in your team. But if you're going to play someone cheap from this high total game, then I actually think Josh Palmer's worth a shout. Just as that third-year receiver, he's a guy that's coming into the spot to play in those 3 wide receiver sets. So he's there. He could be a splash play. We have seen it from him in the past.
Yeah, Palmer or Everett hitting a touchdown, you're laughing all the way to the bank.
That's right. Here's our value play of the week.
Oh.
Inconceivable. Inconceivable.
I think it's inconceivable that Derek Carr is $11,360 in a game that has a 52 over-under where Vegas are only 3-point underdogs.
Yes.
I think you're looking at this, and if you play around, having Derek Carr as your quarterback just frees up a whole lot of cash. It makes the rest of your lineup feel really sweet. So Derek Carr, you pair him with Devontae Adams, of course, who's just sitting there at a cheaper price than Keenan Allen, which in my mind is absurd. Inconceivable for sure. Again, then I think you're laughing in terms of being able to fit a lot of these other players, bring back with Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. So Devontae Adams is there as the play that you want to pair with Derek Carr. So I think that's really, 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 really good. J.C. Jackson, the key cornerback, really, that the Chargers picked up. He's out. So again, Devontae Adams up against a weakened secondary as well. Yep. Other two guys is Renfrow, and he was really solid last year. We saw him play through the slot and just dominate the midfield. The Chargers have improved their edge and linebacker room, so I'd be wary on Hunter Renfrow. I'd only be playing him in a Derek Carr stack. Tight end as well, Darren Waller. He's $9,900, which is fairly cheap considering what he can do. But again, I think he's the guy that I only want to pair up with a Derek Carr stack.
Well, anyway, that's it. And I think
that's it.
The other premium tight end options out there. Looking earlier in the week, Waller really didn't get me going much at all, but sub 10K with a potential ceiling of 2 touchdowns, like he could be a nice little piece there in a Carr stack.
Is true. Anyway, really, this is a game you want exposure to, so I'd be trying any which way, whether it's through a mini stack or a main stack, quarterback stack, to be getting access to this game. It's one of my favorites to play this week. Probably my favorite for sure. But Arch, you've got a second game for us to look at.
Yes, well, we're going to move on. Oh, look at you already hitting the Kansas City at Arizona. Kansas City 5-point favourites, over under 54. This is the highest game total on the slate, and probably one of the most popular games that people will be stacking in tournaments. And I tell you what, Rowan, I'm feeling a fade on the game. I'm feeling like this game is going to disappoint. Why? There's lots of things that are going wrong. First of all, Mahomes has a whole new suite of weapons that we've got Juju, we've got MVS. Is really, and Sky Moore. We've got Kelsey, that's it, that he's had before. And so trying to come up with Kansas City stacks is going to be real hard. Like it's Mahomes and Kelsey, and then what else? And I feel like you need to hit on that second piece to make it worth going with such the high ownership that Mahomes Kelsey stacks are going to have. And so I'm not really keen on, I'll probably have a few out there. There's that fear of missing out. I don't want to do a full fade, but look, this screams fade for me where, so much ownership on this game. The only thing really gets me excited a little, I don't know if it's excited, but as a point where we can capitalize is how many injuries the Cardinals have. Did you show me earlier how many their cornerbacks are out?
Yeah, the cornerback room is pretty decimated at the moment. Some of the guys they've brought in are out still. So there's the cornerbacks on the outside are not their top tier. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And so maybe an MVS screams down, gets a touchdown. You hope what we're hoping to see is Sky Moore in the slot, and staying on the field a whole lot. 6,500. I've got my eye on him. Am I super keen to play him? I don't know. But I think he's I'm going to talk up a whole bunch of wide receivers later about. There's some that I've got in my player pool, but there's some I just want to just wait 1 week and see what their usage is before I start investing too much. And I think Sky Moore is one of those, especially with Juju potentially in the slot as well. That's really well Juju can play. So how that works, I'm really keen to see. On the other side of the ball, Kyler Murray, what's he got? Rondale Moore has had an undisclosed injury all training camp. Started training in full on Monday, so he's going to be out there for a while. We thought there was going to be a bit of AJ Green chalk, didn't we, on the slate? Which doesn't get me excited at all.
No, thank you. I'll pass.
And so then it was like Hollywood Brown. How is he going to fit in a new system straight off the bat? Are we, priced pretty nice? I think he's in my player pool, but he's not someone I'm going to go too heavy on week one when I don't really know how they're going to go. But to me, Kyler Murray could almost just play on his own, potentially with a James Conner stack. That's probably the only way I'd probably play this game as a way to get different is Kyler Murray with Conner. You sell the story that the scores go through them. Which could happen. Kyler on his feet, Conner on his feet, maybe catches a pass on the goal line with a speed option or something like that. So that's probably one way you could get different in this game. But otherwise, look, you're going with the crowd with this game, and so I'm sensing a little bit of a fade. I don't know, what do you feel? How does fading this game sound to you, Ron?
Yeah, I think I agree a lot, actually. I think there's a lot of unknowns. That's the biggest thing. And when there is 26 teams that I could be choosing players from, I want to be as secure as I can in terms of understanding the role of the guys that I'm playing. And so from a feeling point of view, it doesn't give me great feeling. I think there is potential. But even Mahomes kind of came out and said, hey, fantasy guys, the guys that go off each week are going to be different, meaning that there's just going to be this rotation through the wide receiver room. So I'm really hesitant. I agree. Potentially the running backs are the best way to expose yourself to this game and get different from the field. So I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, and on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, people hate him now, right? They've burned people in dynasty rookie drafts, and that dead set hatred towards him.
So true. After burning that first round,
man. But you tell me, with the injuries in the secondary for Cardinals, can you see a way like Kansas City could easily just blow them out of the water in the first quarter and then just sit on the ball.
Good.
And
give all the opportunities to Clyde Edwards-Helaire for sure.
So that either it goes through Clyde Edwards-Helaire or it's just a real low game total and it's not actually worth stacking. And so to me, that's a very possible in the range of outcomes for this game that it just hits the unders big time.
Yeah, no, very possible. Next game we're going to look at here is my Philly Eagles taking on Detroit. Yes. And I love the Eagles this year. I think everyone does.
I love Detroit this year. And even though they're the divisional rivals to the Vikings, my Vikings, man, I love Dan Campbell.
I mean, you got to get around the hard knocks, right?
Man.
It's been a good watch, that's for sure. But Eagles versus the Lions, you've got the hype of Hard Knocks coming in here, but you've also got you've got the Eagles and their trade for AJ Brown. You've got them putting solid weapons around Jalen Hurts now.
Yes.
And so if we're going to look at Jalen Hurts, he's sitting there at 14-8, and that's dear, but it's not too bad, really. I think that's a solid salary to be able to play Jalen Hurts with. And so many, the three options. There's three options to really stack him with. That's AJ Brown, it's Devonta Smith. He comes in at 10.05, and I don't mind that for Devonta Smith. AJ Brown at 12.8, I think you can smash that. I think that's pretty good. And Dallas got it here sitting at 9.5. And all three of those guys, just great options to stack Jalen Hurts with. I think potentially you just want to single stack, and because we know that Jalen Hurts just does so much on the ground. So I don't mind just single stacking Jalen Hurts. I'm still just going to want to stack though, even if it is Jalen Hurts. It's rare that I'll probably want to play anyone naked this year. Naked being just without a stack, that is. And so Jalen Hurts is the guy in this matchup that I really, really like. And Detroit, they've amped up their offense, but I still don't trust their defense. Yes, they're going to be hard at it. Yes, Dan Campbell's going to get in their ear, and I love that. But in terms of the talent that they've got there, potentially this might flop a bit. And so you've got Philly as a 4-point favorites and a 48-point over-under. And I think that 48-point over-under is something that we can look at and actually go, that's a positive here. That's actually still in the top 5 games over-under-wise. So Philly here, I'm a big fan of. If you don't want to stack this game, though, I think there's some good mini stacks here. And one of those is with Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has just been declared healthy. He's been questionable for a little while, but I think Miles Sanders is still the clear number 1 running back on this team. Kenneth Gainwell hasn't shown enough, I reckon, to be a consistent player here, at least not to even... I think Miles Sanders is still going to get 60% of the running back opportunities. And against what was last year, the 31st worst team, or 31st best team, the second worst team in rush DVOA. DVOA is this defense value over adjustment stat that Football Outsiders like to put out. But it's just a good way to kind of get a general sense of what a team is doing on defense against a particular type of play. So in terms of rush defense, Detroit sucked. And so you've got Miles Sanders here sitting at sub 9K at 8.5K, almost close to basement price that you can plug and play here. We know actually he's an explosive running back when healthy, that he can push up the field and get away from linebackers. He's a guy that I'm quite bullish on in regards to this week. So Miles Sanders I like, and bring that back with Amon-Ra St. Brown, the guy who remembers all of the wide receivers that were drafted before him. And is in the stretch
That's
of
Mr. Olympus.
That's
Man.
right. but of those last 5 games of last season, he was pretty much leading the pack. I think he was wide receiver 2 in that space. And so Goff was just funneling it to him. Now, that was because Hockenson and DeAndre Swift weren't there. I understand that. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is still just setting himself apart as the wide receiver 1 on that team. So Amon-Ra St. Brown and Miles Sanders are my favorite little mini stack in this game as well. Any thoughts from you, Arch, before we move on to the next one?
Look, what if this is the year that Goff actually just recreates that magical Rams year and he actually is an above average quarterback? No, I'm talking elite, but just above average. I think with, they've got a solid offensive line. This team could actually be okay. And I don't think it's the Detroit of old. I'm not don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not putting Jared Goff in any lineups, but I'm saying the Lions aren't the joke they used to be.
Well, if that's true,
Maybe
then
I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid from Dan Campbell.
Maybe
I don't care. I just love the guy.
But if Goff is actually stepping up, then actually what that means for this game is that the over-under gets pushed up. And that's a great thing for this game environment. So I hear that, and I'm not going to play Goff, but I do like it. I think
they can keep up. Keep up.
It's definitely a possibility, a good possibility, I would say. And DeAndre Swift comes in as a $14,280 running back that can see a lot of passes and that can break lines. We know how good DeAndre Swift is. So don't fade DeAndre Swift here as well. I think he's probably one of the best bring back options, I think, on this team. So I like DeAndre Swift as well. All right, next up. Chris, we're going to talk about your boys.
Yes.
Not Green Bay, Minnesota. Green Bay at Minnesota.
Oh, jeez. Just want to throw shit in my face. Look, this is probably one of my favourite games, obviously.
Yeah, that's right. Homer picks.
Divisional matchup. Home game for Minnesota, under the roof. I think this has a chance to actually go, real shootout here. Cousins is no longer under dictator Mike Zimmer. He hopefully is with, Kevin O'Connell just has the keys to actually throw the ball more than 20 times a game. And if he gets to do that, under Zimmer, he was still the QB 12 or 13, I think it was last year. When he was in Washington before that, he had multiple top 8 quarterback seasons. So I'm really high on Kirk Cousins this year, not just being a homer, but I think really he's a top 12 quarterback this year. And so at his salary, 12-7, and you look at Rodgers as well at 13-3. This is a game that you can stack that should be a shootout, and you have value at the quarterback position, which means you can play plenty of options everywhere else with a lot of salary. So let's just quickly look at the Vikings side of the ball, of course, and who you're going to pair with Cousins. Well, obviously it starts with Justin Jefferson. He's the second most expensive wide receiver on the slate for good reason. A lot of people thinking that he could potentially have that Cup-esque breakout. If you want to call it a breakout, he's broken out. But just going to the extra level, what he did under Zimmer, it gets me pretty excited. What the possibilities are with a new coaching staff that hopefully, we haven't seen it yet, but I like to see that that we see a lot more passing action. Thielen, the forgotten lad in all of this, at $11K could easily catch 2 touchdowns, and so I don't mind him just thrown into maybe if you can do a Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen double stack, you can still build a pretty nice lineup outside of that. KJ Osborne is a way to get different in this stack as well, $7K. Look, he's shown that he has the ability to be that third wide receiver. He can catch a touchdown as well. You do that. I think he'll be the more the lower owned option here, so that's a way to get different. Tight end, you've got Irv Smith coming off an injury. He's one of the ones I want to see another week, but I might sprinkle him in, but probably not too high on him. On the other side of the ball, let's look at what about a little guy called Dalvin Cook, hey?
Just
outrageous
one of the best
price.
Running backs in the
Yeah. 13K. Are we serious? What are we doing, Draftstars, with that price? That screams value to me, where he's going to catch passes. He's going to run the ball a heck of a lot. He is their guy. And so... Look, I love Dalvin Cook this week. I think he's someone that you can put into cash and GPP lineups. I don't even care. Anything you've got to say about my Vikings?
No, I just really hope the coach change is that it will unlock this offense. So I'm really excited to watch that for sure.
No.
Green Bay though.
Green Bay. Look, price down Rodgers at 13K. I guess the fear is he's lost Devontae Adams. You look at the stats from games with and without Devontae Adams. he does better without Devontae Adams. It's outrageous. Like yards, touchdowns, fantasy points. Like he's a bloody good quarterback, it turns out. Rowan, did you know that?
Yes, I've heard.
So look, go a Rodgers stack. But who are you going to stack with? Let's just bring up their wide receivers because that is the big question. Look, when Alan Lazard is your top priced wide receiver at 10K, like that there's something interesting going on here, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Sammy Watkins, like if Lazard's not the one, if he's not playing, that is, Sammy Watkins going to do his week 1 miracle thing again?
Look, Sammy Watkins is an okay wide receiver. Like, you know, he's had stretches. If they can work him into it, like he could be okay. But Lazard has been clearly the one, right? That he's been touted. You know, Rodgers said that it's not going to be a huge adjustment for Lazard. He's going to be the one. And so to me, at 10K, Aaron Rodgers, wide receiver 1, like throw him into a lot of lineups. I don't think it's like sometimes fantasy is easy. Throw in Rodgers, wide receiver 1, like Rowan, and especially at 10K. Romeo Doubs is one that I'm keeping an eye on this week. He's not someone I'm going to probably have in my player pool, but at 6.5K, like almost basement level, he has had drawn rave reviews from Rodgers, like as an ultimate pro. And, you know, Rodgers throws to the people he likes. He's pretty fickle, old Rodgers. And so, like, I don't think I'd like him as a person, but as a quarterback, he's bloody good.
Yeah.
But keep an eye on Dubs. He is someone to keep an eye on, absolutely. Christian Watson is the other, you know, he was the higher drafted rookie as well. So I'm really keen to see what their rookies do. Cobb and Rodgers, not, you know, take it or leave him. Let's just see how it all plays out. But I think Lazard's the play here on this side of the ball. Robbie Tonyan coming off the injury as well on tight end. Again, I probably want to just keep an eye on him. If you look at his last season before he got injured, his touchdown rate was outrageous. And generally what happens, you come back to the mean. And so I'm probably not as bullish on him this year as, you know, he just had an outrageous year. And so I wouldn't get too excited about Tonyan being back. But, that's...
well, let's just talk running backs, though. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
I'm just overlooking running backs, aren't I, tonight?
Yeah, you are. I mean, look, you don't always think about when you think about stacking. It's fair enough. But Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, arguably two of the best. Like they both deserve to be on the field.
Give me Dillon. What they've said, it's like having a 1A and a 1A, I think was one of the coaches'
I think that's right.
quotes. And so to me, look, redraft, season long, like give me all the Aaron Jones as well. Yep. But like if AJ Dillon's on the field for 30-40% of the snaps, you know, I'll take the 4.5K, you know, discount there. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a great call. And again, another way to just mini stack this is with the running backs. So AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, a great spot to do it. So last game that we want to kind of highlight here. I'm going to ignore that comment unless you want to address that, Chris. Oh, dear. Last one we've got here. Stop talking about Putin. Find us on YouTube, everyone, to understand
what's
what
our
we're
last
talking about here.
stack we're doing?
Last one here is Indianapolis versus Houston. I'll race through this one quickly. I think Jonathan Taylor ultimately is potentially one of the chalkiest plays on the week. He's not even the most expensive running back there, and we just know how good of a player he is. So Jonathan Taylor, I just love, but he's going to be chalky. And so the idea that I have here, and it might be a bit crazy, but it's a 46 over-under, so it's not outrageous. And Houston are going to have to pass to catch up here because Indianapolis are going to hit the front, I think, and force Houston to stay with them. And it's a Davis Mills stack. And I loved Davis Mills last year at points because he was so cheap, but he was, you know, he wasn't that half bad.
It was almost worrying the love affair you had for him.
Yeah. But Davis Mills and a Brandon Cooks stack with Jonathan, because Brandon Cooks here.
Add him to your lineup right now, Rowan.
Do it. No, those guys here with either a Pittman or a Jonathan Taylor bringback, I think, is actually It's a way to get cheap on the stack.
Yes.
And to bring back with guys you know are going to get touches. Michael Pittman Jr. just clearly establishing himself as a number one target on this team. Matt Ryan's going to use him a lot, and Jonathan Taylor as well. So I actually don't mind that. I think Houston can step up in offense to be a league average team, and I know that's saying a lot, but that means that Brandon Cooks is going to do well, and that means Davis Mills should do well with him. So to play those two, bring it back with a guaranteed, well, almost guaranteed, top play in Pittman or Jonathan Taylor, I think is a way to go here. If you want to get really cute, you could probably bring in Brevin Jordan, the tight end from Houston. But
real punt play.
Yeah, it's a real punt play. He's sitting there at 6,000, which is not bad. But really, if you wanted to stack Matt Ryan, I'm not going to fault you either. He's coming in as a 7-point favorite, so play him with a Mo Alley Cox and a Michael Pittman Jr. Really, Michael Pittman Jr. is a bit of a cash play. I'd be happy to play him everywhere. Yep. He's on a heavily favored team, and he's going to get lots of targets. So Michael Pittman Jr. I love in all forms of the game this week for sure. Nico Collins, he's coming in as the second wide receiver for Houston. I don't mind him.
8K is beautiful.
Oh, it is nice. I don't actually know where to look for the second wide receiver in Indianapolis, and I think that's probably the biggest thing here that holds me off of that. The last one I'll mention is Dameon Pierce. He's just the hype rookie of the preseason over the last 4 weeks, and he's just risen up.
50% owned on the slate?
He'll be huge. As a min-price running back, it'll be huge. But to be honest, I'm looking at this and I'm going, Miles Sanders, only $560 more. I think I'll take you. It's just, it's not much of a difference to be able to.
It's the touchdown equity, isn't it? Where, I think TJ Hernandez sent out a tweet earlier, like, we're going to get a lot of 89-yard, no touchdown games from Dameon Pierce, where he's going to be on the field all the time, but Houston just might suck.
That's right.
They never get into the red zone. And so, look, but 8K, you're probably going to play him a lot, aren't you? Still right?
He'll probably find his way into a lot of lineups, that's for sure. So you play him, you'll play him for sure. But if I'm going to choose someone to be in a lineup, it's probably actually not going to be him. It's probably going to be Miles Sanders. So that's probably where I'm leaning in that. Anyway, there are 5 games that we want to look at. So that's Vegas and Chargers.
They're the big games.
Kansas, Arizona, Green Bay, Minnesota, Philly, Detroit, Indianapolis, Houston. But let's quickly go through some of the other positions here that we want to talk about. Let's just make it quick though, Chris. Let's just look at quarterbacks. You want to mention Trey Lance?
Yeah, look, I want to love Trey Lance. He's finally got the team. It's his team now. Jimmy G's still there, but it's his team. He's got that, cheat code, Konami code of being able to run the ball. But I don't want to play him this week. Draftstars have priced him up. Like it's not like they've given him like a low salary to start with, because they know that he's going to run the ball. And so to me, I think at that salary, like he has to hit his absolute ceiling for that play to play off, I think. And I think similarly with Fields, I think Lance and Fields there's a lot of optimism around Fields this year that he's making pretty good strides at Chicago. But again, they've priced him up to 12K. When I can get Cousins and Carr a lot cheaper, I'm just not interested.
Yeah, and this is the thing. You want that game environment, right?
Yep. The other ones I'm thinking, Jameis Winston is someone I want to keep an eye on this week. With a new coach, potentially, what's his face? Michael Thomas is back as well. Is there potential going forward that Jameis could be a viable DFS quarterback? That's someone I want to keep an eye on. We talked a little bit about Matt Ryan already. Look, there's a lot of positivity coming out of the Colts that, the wide receivers are saying that, look, it's just different this year. Matt Ryan is telling us where to go, that he's helping us find the ball, whereas Wentz, basically they were just having a huge swipe at Wentz, saying that he's an absolute dirtbag. Everywhere Wentz goes, they all hate him. But
it's rough, isn't it?
Honestly, just show some bloody leadership, mate. But yeah, Matt Ryan, the vet, will just basically, I'm quite bullish. Like there's, you say, oh, he's old, he doesn't have much of an arm, but he can command an offense still. He's going from one of the worst offensive lines to one of the best.
Yeah.
You're telling me that a vet quarterback isn't going to take, command of that offense? Like, keep an eye on Matt Ryan this year. I think the Colts, Texans game, you tell me it couldn't be a shootout.
It could be. I'm not going to tell you it's not. Yeah.
Davis Mills could keep up with Matt Ryan. It could be a fun game. The
Colts secondary as well has they brought in some new coaches and coaches who are typically a little bit less aggressive than what it has been in the past as well. So I don't think Mills is going to face as many blitzes as what they might have thrown at him last year as well. So I think as well, Shaquille Leonard, one of their key linebackers, he's out at the moment as well. So the Colts defense is not what it was either. So you got to think about that as well, which allows Matt Ryan to have to throw more, which is exciting for fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, when we come to this other play section after we've gone through our stacks, the quarterbacks are going to be probably the thinnest position to go through because the stacks that are worth playing, like our quarterback player pool is going to be fairly small. Like if I'm playing just the mini on Draftstars, I'm probably thinking 2 to 3 quarterbacks in my player pool.
Yeah, that's
if I'm doing the mini, the micro, where you get 100 entries, I'm probably thinking maybe 5 to 6 quarterbacks tops. Anything bigger, you're really just spreading yourself too thin. And so that's really why our 5 main games that we're looking at their stacks, that's really where our quarterbacks are going to play.
Big time. Just let me run through some of the running backs here. I think what I'm looking at here is, Christian McCaffrey's 18,000. He's the most expensive player out there, but
it could be the cheapest he'll be all year.
It's also very possible as well. He could go 100, 100 on the ground and in the air. You never know. So watch out for Christian McCaffrey. Fade him at your peril in some regard, but I mean he is the most expensive. So I think it's easy to get away from him, to be honest. But we talked about Eckler, we talked about Taylor. That brings me to my next guy.
Oh yeah.
Show me the money!
Derrick Henry is my premium play of the week. I love Derrick Henry.
Oh,
He's coming up against the Giants, who just leak points to that they were the worst against the rush last year, and Derrick Henry's here to just put a monster on them. Derrick Henry came back last year. We got to remember that. The end of the year, Derrick Henry came back. We saw a healthy Derrick Henry right at the end. So that injury stuff that clouded him last year, we don't have to worry about that, really. He's coming back. He's only 28, guys. He's actually not that old. And so he's just a beast. I would play Derrick Henry everywhere. So I love that. Other guys to look at, I guess Alvin Kamara is always great, especially in PPR. So you love looking at him. I'm going to fade Najee Harris. I think the opportunities he gets will be good, but he's coming up against Cincinnati, and Mitch Trubisky even likes to run the ball a bit. So I'm not high on Najee Harris at all this year.
To me, a cash only running back.
For opportunity. Yeah,
he's got the pure volume, but the ceiling, I think, is going to be limited this week.
Yeah, that's it. A couple other guys I want to think about, though, is Baltimore. In Baltimore, we've got an interesting situation to monitor, and you really have to monitor this. If J.K. Dobbins doesn't get up, then Mike Davis is probably going to get the bulk of the carries against the Jets. Against the Jets, everybody. So we know that the Jets suck. Pretty much in all facets of football. So playing the great running offense that is the Ravens against them is probably a decent thing to do. Now, Mike Davis has been priced up at 9.6. It's dear-ish for what he could be a bust. He could be, a plotter. He's old, all that kind of stuff. But if he's going to get all the opportunities, then I don't mind it. Kenyon Drake, actually, though, he's signed on as a pass catcher, pass catcher at 5K.
5K, they've given some running backs 5K this year. Normally
because they were in practice squads, I think, and then Kenyon Drake got signed late in the piece, and so he's managed to find himself there. I wouldn't be surprised if Kenyon Drake is in the winning lineup, to be honest. As a guy,
I'm just not gonna bother with any Baltimore running backs because it could be anyone.
Yeah, that's totally fair. You got to think about that,
or
for sure.
Or it's going to be Lamar Jackson.
Pittsburgh take on Cincinnati, obviously, and so Joe Mixon on the other side of that, on the Cincinnati side, is also, I think, a really solid play. Last year we saw Cincinnati have their their least and their third least amount of throws, passes against Pittsburgh. And so that potentially bodes well for Cincinnati, for Joe Mixon. And Pittsburgh as well last year were 27th in rush DVOA. So Mixon has a pretty soft matchup here. So I don't mind that. And I don't think the field's going to be on him at all. Like, he's a potential piece to throw into your player pool that could come through and score a couple of touchdowns this game. So I don't mind Joe Mixon at all either. So watching Joe Mixon. But that's me on the running backs. Arch, you're going to take us through some of the wide receivers? Or are you looking at the chat again?
Yeah, I am. Just a bunch of losers that I try to educate Monday to Friday. Wide receivers, this is almost like week one recipe is premium running backs and so many values at wide receiver, because there's so many that the prices are low and they're not going to be like this for very much longer. And so if we just jump onto the wide receivers there, Rosalind.
Yeah. I'm just going to warn you, though. Like, you've got about 20 names on this list of yours.
Yeah, I'm going to just
not have time to talk through all of that.
Don't worry about it.
Should I start with the fade? Let's go with the fade. Let me play the graphic
fade
for you.
Go fade.
I declare bankruptcy!
Look, this week I'm going to Chase. He is the most expensive wide receiver on the slate. And that's not just the real reason. Like, that alone isn't enough. But he's going to be popular. People love Jamar Chase. He did so many good things as a rookie. But at that price, he has to hit the absolute nuts to be able to justify that salary. And when I could get, almost a 4K discount on T. Higgins, who also had such boom games towards the end of last season, give me T. Higgins over Chase at that salary when potentially the ownership's going to be on Chase. So, look, I'm out of there. And I think as well, we looked earlier, Cincinnati, when they played Pittsburgh last year as well, Joe Burrow had pretty low pass attempts against them, so the pace is going to be quite low. I just don't think it's going to get there. So I think, unless you think Chase can hit 30, Draftstars points this game, do not play him. He's not going to help you win a GPP at all.
No,
what do you think about that?
No, I'm going to go with you on that. Yeah, for sure. Like, these top guys who are always priced up, they have to be the best that they can be to honestly outperform.
He's not Cooper Kupp.
He's not Cooper Kupp. He's not Cooper Kupp.
Last year, every week in, week out, we were like, oh, maybe I'll fade Cooper Kupp this week because he's so expensive. No, he kept, because the volume was there and the way the games were playing. Jamar Chase, if you actually look week in, week out, so many chunk players that he just went bananas on games, but then he just wasn't, he'd get 15 points some games. So there's real potential that this game against Pittsburgh that he might get 15 to 20 points. It's not going to be enough for that salary.
That's it. All right, Arch, give me a handful of plays, wide receiver plays here that you like. That
yeah,
are
and I'll do
of
it
those
quickly.
Games yeah.
Like I said, I like T. Higgins at the price. Tyreek Hill as well. Look, we know what he can do. 13K, that's probably the cheapest he's been in years. Obviously, he's got a downgrade in quarterback. Maybe someone to keep an eye on, but I think against New England, which I don't know what's going on in New England this year, but it's fantastic to watch. I think Tyreek Hill could be okay. DJ Moore, look, I love a good narrative, Rowan, and the narrative is Baker hates the Browns, wants to smash them in the absolute teeth. Who's he going to throw to? Has to be DJ Moore. Okay, at sub 12K, I love DJ Moore there as well. Deontay Johnson quickly as well. We've mentioned Pittsburgh. He's their number one. At the end of the day, he's got an upgrade at quarterback. Like, Big Ben last year was rubbish. Mitch Trubisky is an upgrade. I don't care what you think of Trubisky. He's still better than last year's Big Ben. Darnell Mooney is going to be the chalkiest Chicago wide receiver. At sub 10K, that price, I mean, it screams value, but just know that a lot of people are going to see that as obvious. Elijah Moore is another one on the Jets. He's someone I think with Flacco throwing the ball, he could have a lot of volume. But on that, Garrett Wilson's someone to just keep an eye out that this week. That Garrett Wilson, he's what was he drafted? Was he top 10, top 12 in the NFL draft?
Yeah, I think you're about that. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, like at 6K, like he's drafted that high for a reason. He's pretty good. So it's just worth keeping an eye on where they're going to sprinkle him in. Obviously, Corey Davis is in the mix there as well. Look, Jahan Dotson at Washington, like who's behind Terry McLaurin in the depth chart? Like
no one except Dotson.
No, and so if you're a Wentz believer, which I hope you're not, but I think there's somewhat. I think Dotson is someone at that value could actually catch a few passes and return value for that.
Sure.
Someone else, like I don't know, just shut me down if I'm talking stupid. Like I've had a couple scotches during this episode.
I'll let you know.
Kendrick Bourne. Or Nelson Aguilar on the New England side. This at 6K.
Don't do it.
Like, am I stupid?
Yeah. Yes. This is an Arch only endorsement.
Yeah.
Okay. Do not.
Part of me just wonders about Bourne. Maybe it's because he burned me a couple weeks last year when I wasn't on him when he caught a touchdown.
This is a purely emotional feel.
Oh, this is a punt play. Like when we're talking 6K receivers, it's a punt play. Like,
but this is. I don't think this is the week we need to do it, Arch. I just don't think.
You don't think so?
All right. I don't think so.
Let's move on. Look.
Right. No?
Let's move on. Cool. Tight ends.
Tight ends. All right, let me talk you through tight ends. There was a real mix in terms of the winners from last year in terms of their tight end usage. 10 of them were above 8K. There was 8 that were below. 4 stacks included tight ends. So I actually kind of like stacking a tight end. That's probably how I like to do it because they can be so volatile.
Yes.
Really, you want anyone from the matchups that we talked about earlier. So any of those guys with those high over-unders, because a lot of these guys, we just want a touchdown. You really just want a touchdown and maybe 30 yards, and that's it. But other guys that come from big spreads, all right, let me just take off the New England Patriots here. The guys that come from big spreads, you've got Kittle on the 49ers, who are big favorites there. With Hurst at the Bengals, who are big favorites against the Steelers. The Saints are 5.5 point favorites against the Falcons. I just put a sneaky Adam Troutman / Taysom Hill in here. They're both basement price. If I'm going to bring them up real quick, these guys are both basement price. Taysom Hill at 5K, and we all know that he's a gadget player. They could run him in for a touchdown. You just never know. Like one rushing touchdown just pays off for Taysom Hill, really. Yep. So it depends what they're going for. I don't mind it. He's honestly one of the absolute sneakiest players that I would go for at tight end. But just take it or leave it. They're favorites. Mark Andrews, they're 6.5 point favorites against the Jets. And Austin Hooper, Tennessee, big favorites as well. So Austin Hooper sitting there at 7,700 is not someone to sneeze at, I think, coming in for the Titans.
It's the lack of weapons, isn't it, for Tennessee? It is. Like, they get rid of A.J. Brown. They get rid of Julio. Like,
Traylon Burks isn't there yet. It's Henry and Woods and potentially Austin Hooper in terms of experience and ability. So they're the guys that I don't mind. Oh, the other guy, sorry, I'll just mention Komet. He has been hyped up a little bit as well throughout the offseason. Probably the number 2 target offense. But what does that mean? We don't know. So he's there at 8K. I don't mind him. He's someone that could easily get 7 targets in this game, and that's pretty decent for a tight end. So watch that space, but I don't love the fact that they're such underdogs in this game either, though.
No, last one I want to keep an eye on. Oh yeah, sorry. I just on tight ends. There's a few that I want to keep an eye on quickly as well.
Sure. Okay.
Isaiah Likely at Baltimore. There's a real potential that he could be on the field for like 40% of snaps. And the way their offense works and the way he's playing in preseason, he could work himself into a role. So, not someone to play this week, but someone just to keep an eye on. What's his snap percentage? How many routes is he running?
Sure.
Logan Thomas as well. He's had a year off with injury. Someone to keep an eye on. And Daniel Bellinger for the Giants as well. He's been much hyped in the preseason. Again, the Giants' weapons, there's lots of injuries, lots of volatility there. That Ingram's gone. Who's their tight end? It's Bellinger. So just keep an eye on him.
All right. Take us through the defenses real quick, Arch. What do you find of the defense here? What are your favourites? Just give us your top 6 and we'll run through it quick.
Look, obviously Tennessee's the top priced one, and it's for the reason he's playing against Daniel Jones. Like there's a real
Turnover
chance.
King.
Titans ranked 8th in weighted DVOA a year ago. Allowed the 6th fewest points in the league. And so there's turnovers and low points. So that's the reason why they're priced so high. And, generally what we see is price and points don't correlate with defenses like other positions. And so a lot of people know that potentially there's going to be low ownership on the Titans. So a way to get different is to pay up, but obviously that impacts your lineup elsewhere. Next, I'd go Miami. I think you take a little bit of a discount for a bit of a 6K, 6.1K there. What is going on in New England? That's who Miami's playing. They're against a offensive coordinator in Patricia and Joe Judge. Like, what the flipping heck? I mean, like, maybe that's just the most genius outcome for New England, but it seems weird to me. Panthers, we go down again in price. Look, they're against Cleveland. It's Deshaun Watson is suspended. We've got Jacoby Brissett. Like, there's a chance that this game is they don't score. I don't know. My problem is maybe Brissett doesn't turn the ball over as much as other players. That he's a little bit, he's worked himself into a career backup role where he's a bit more safe. But I think that it's going to be low points there.
For what it's worth, that's my favourite DST player of the week.
I think it's a safe pick. Look, you want to get wild now?
I'm listening.
Yeah, I love the Lions for some reason. Talk to me about Hard Knocks, but man, Dan Campbell, like he's doing the up downs. He's got that defense. Rodrigo, he's starting. He's starting, Rowan. Like I believe in the Lions. And they're against Philly. Maybe Hurts does some stupid thing. Look, Hurts isn't like a great pass catcher. Like he's not like an amazing quarterback. He gets fantasy points, which is what we care about, but he can turn the ball over. So I don't mind the Lions here. And Hutchinson as well, the rookie, he could hit some sacks there. Chiefs is another wild play at defense here. Like, the highest over under play the game on the slate. Why not play a defense from? That's a way to get different.
I don't mind it.
Real leverage off those stacks. And so if you think that potentially that hits the unders and that Kyler has no one to pass to and that their defense sucks and that there's just going to be low points, go the Chiefs. It's a way to go. Chargers as well against Las Vegas. On the road in his career, Derek Carr has averaged over 2 sacks and has a completion rate of, under 64%. And he has his interception rate goes up a fair bit as well on the road as well. So I think there's a chance that Carr could shit the bed on the big stage there. So Chargers are someone as well in the lower price range. 4-7K, not a bad little price.
No, that's great. No, I like that a lot. Well, there you go, everyone. There's our rundown of the slate. It's a bit longer than we would have hoped, but that's thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, we're meant to get this down to like a 30-minute pod roll.
I blame you because you can't help but just talk about every single stat that you found. So I'm going to blame you for that one. As we wrap up, we're going to do the head-to-head?
Yeah. So each week, me and Ron go head-to-head so you can see a bit of a cash game play. So you want to bring up one of your lineups?
Yeah, here it comes. There we go. Here's my head-to-head.
There we are. Yeah, talk us through it.
Okay, it's a Chargers stack with Justin Herbert and Mike Williams and Gerald Everett Jared Everett being cheap in the tight end spot. I've got a mini stack here with Miles Sanders, bring it back with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I've got the bring back for the Chargers game with Devontae Adams. I've got my guy Derrick Henry in there. And then Brandon Cooks sitting there in my flex, so I think is just the only option for Davis Mills. And so I think he'll get peppered with targets. And so that's where I'm leaning with that one. So you'll see that in the TFL podcast one. So Arch, you got one for us as well?
Yeah,
I think he's bringing it up.
Yep. Anyway, but looks as we've got some issues here, but maybe we'll do. There we are.
Either way, it's going to lose to mine. I think that's where we're coming with this one. Anyway, talk us through it.
Yeah. So I'm going the Minnesota stack. Going being real homer here. With a Cousins, Cook, Jefferson stack, and bringing it back. I'm not bringing it back this week with a cash game. But what I've done, I've gone JT. I think for cash. I mean, Indianapolis against Houston, like he's going to run the ball. So I really like him. Mike Williams, I'm already, as I've said, I'm pretty big on. Darnell Mooney is the guy in Chicago. It's at sub 10K, is a nice little cash play there. Damian Pierce, he's going to be chalky as all heck, so why not play him in cash? And Evan Ingram as well for Jacksonville. I think that he potentially could have an opportunity to really resurrect his career over there.
Fair call. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the TFL podcast for 2022. We thought we couldn't. Yes, we wanted to finish it, but we just wanted to keep going, and so here we are. We're just super pumped. If you're listening to this right now, we've got Thursday night football to get excited for tomorrow, so I'm super keen for that. Oh. And don't forget to hit up our links.
Hope one of us win it.
Yeah, no, that's right. We can hit up Draftstars at bit.ly/join Draftstars or join our TFL podcast comp, bit.ly/TFL week 1. So find us there. Don't forget, everyone.
If you want to play against us,
that's right.
Play against us in a small field, 30 man. It could grow more than that, but 30 man, bit.ly/TFL week 1. Like that is where you play against us. Like it is one of the best payout structures you can see on Draftstars. So jump on it.
Yeah.
It's private, so the only way you can get access to that through our link, and so we'll put it on the socials as well. But play against us; it'll be heaps of fun. $5, that's all.
That's it. Arch, once again, it's been a pleasure.
Yes,
and
it's
everyone,
so good.
Yeah, it's been great. Gamble responsibly, everyone. Call 1-800-858-858. But we have loved talking to you about DFS, NFL DFS, once again on Draftstars, and we will catch you next time.